Lois used to look after us kids from the estate. She used to take us camping, and she'd do cookery with us in her house above the post office.
Lois used to focus on things that were that you were interested in, or things that you could do or wanted to do.
For me, that helped me just become mostly more the person that I am. It was basically very good with strangers and interacting and chatting and stuff like that, you know.
My name is Gary Beadle.
How did you become involved with Lamppost?
So obviously Lois Acton was the inspiration for the whole setup of the Lamppost, and Lois was somebody who we encountered just in the streets one day, Bermondsey Street, and she was a new resident in the area, or to us she was, and she just took us into her house, and just basically let us express ourselves. Cooking, painting. She would take us to art museums and exhibitions and just inspire us culturally and artistically more than anything. So Lois is a massive, massive mentor in my life. We were totally inspired with the arts through Lois. Not only that, it's like taking us to the theatre and exhibitions and stuff. Well, you know, she took us to things like the Egyptian exhibitions and stuff like the Natural History Museum, and kind of put us in touch with history of who we are and stuff like that very early on, you know. She was always just telling us about history and stuff, and at the same time just being so kind, because it was a tough old time. People were a bit sort of like, you know, hard, didn't show too much emotion and all that stuff, but Lois was just a soft guiding hand for us. I think without her, I don't know where I might have ended up, but because it was just full of energy. And I think she taught, more than anything, taught me and my rest of my siblings, like, how to harness it, you know. And so give us some kind of moral compass in a funny way. Like, kind of know that when something was wrong or when something was right. Which was, you know, easy to forget, do you know what I mean, back in those days when you're just running with the crowd. So I look back and I think actually she directed my life in a positive way. And I'm forever grateful. Now, it's so funny. My memory's so foggy because it seemed like I've always been there because I started so young. But I know I was there up until probably 9, maybe 10, just going on 10. And I sort of did the last year or so of secondary school at Snowsfield, which was just off of Bermondsey Street. And when I went there, I remember going there and I couldn't really read and write. And I remember going to Lois and saying, I want to learn to read and write. And I think, literally, with the help of Lois and determination, I learned to read and write within a summer. So yeah, you know, definitely, yeah. So I was very, very lucky. And to think that the job that I do now, it's all about reading and learning lines and stuff. But in a funny way, before I got really confident with my reading, what I was confident in was pretending to be able to read, in terms of, like, I'd learn stuff and then I'd read it like I was reading it, but I actually had learnt it, which is what a lot of dyslexic people do and stuff. So I've got life skills and all that. How you doing? All right, just doing a little interview, but yeah. No, you're all right.
Okay, you're next.
You're next, Chris.
That's it, get in the queue.
You're next, babe.
Yeah, so what do you think, because you had more of a one-to-one and they're stuck in a class of 20, 30?
Definitely.
Well, you're going to learn it that quick?
Yeah, definitely. I think just like, in those times, like I said, you know, anyone who was really kind and like, you know, would sort of like spend time and give you attention and believe in you, give you some kind of confidence, which is what Lois did with all of us. She gave us confidence. She never left anyone out, never made anyone feel like they were a lost cause or anything like that. So looking back, that was vital, I think. It was vital in life just generally, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've got a lot to thank her for. No, other than it's a shame my big brother Ricky's not here, because Chris knows Ricky, right? My big brother, he's like massive inspiration as well, you know. And I say Lois helped him inspired him to write, and now obviously he's a playwright, director, actor, all of these things. And the whole reason that I'm in the business is because of my brother as well, and same with my little sister as well. So yeah,
dynasty.
I think Ricky was a bit of a golden boy for Lois. Do you know what I mean? Because he was different to everybody, obviously, completely different. And Lois encouraged him to be different.
Carleen Monica Beadle Larkham. Oh, you said full name?
Oh, so you Gary's sister?
Yes.
Oh, part of the dynasty.
Yes.
How did you become involved with Lamppost?
Well, I mean, I was so young, so I think it was more because obviously Gary and Ricky were coming, and I think it was kind of like free babysitting, because I was only sort of, like 3, 4 kind of thing at the time. So I think that was sort of part of it, because it was the fact that the boys were going and learning things, and I think that I sort of came and obviously at an age where learning, but not real school stuff at that point. I mean, to be honest, I don't have huge recollections because I was so young, but I do remember Gary and Ricky and how happy it made them, and how that they had much better days, and and they couldn't wait to get up. Gary can never get out of bed, and Gary would get out of bed to go to the Lamppost, and stuff. So it definitely had a more of an impact on both of those because they're older than I am. But I just remember thinking that there was lots of big boys and girls that all talk that would all make a fuss out of me, and still there was sort of obviously the element of learning, and I was still trying to do some writing and trying and stuff. So I think it mostly was something that, for me, that helped me just become mostly more the person that I am. It was basically very good with strangers and interacting and chatting and stuff like that. It made me be, I suppose, a lot less insular, which I may have been if I wasn't in that environment with all of these sort of older boys and girls who were sort of doing all the stuff that they wanted to do.
Should there be more schools like it?
I think so. I mean, I have friends who have children, and they are sort of going to sort of similar type schools. I'm not really quite sure what they're called now, but they are sort of similar type ones. And it's just the fact of, I then actually went to went to a Catholic school, so I went to St Michael's and to St Joseph's, and obviously, then it's very much, you're in your box and this is what you have to do and stuff like that, and so therefore you don't necessarily get the freedom to express yourself. And I think everyone should be able to have the opportunity to be able to express themselves.
We got one of our helpers called Elliot, went on, he came as a student to help, and he went on to become one of the world's top playground makers and designers.
My full name is Kim Hersey. I was Kim Barker. Well, I was having a very difficult time in my secondary school, so what I did was I happened upon a film on BBC about the free school in Islington and the White Lion, and I thought that's the sort of school I need to go to. So I managed to contact them, and they said I was too far out because I was in Islington and I lived in Greenwich, and so I think they gave me Lois's contact number. And I contacted Lois. She said, well, you're out of our area really, Kim, and I begged her. And then she came and met my parents down in Greenwich, and then she said, oh, okay then, and so then I became a Bermondsey Lamppost pupil. And that's how it all began.
And how long was you part of it?
Only probably 2 or 3 years. Lois used to focus on things that were that you were interested in, or things that you could do or wanted to do. And at the time I wanted to be a journalist, and so she took me to Fleet Street. I saw all the papers coming off the press. She introduced me to some journalists, and I also did in the 70s when they was having the power cuts and the 3-day week. I did interviews. I think I knocked on people's doors, and I wrote an article in a local magazine, which no longer appears to be anywhere. You can't seem to find it, and which is quite current now, which is quite funny. I'm just so grateful that Lois started up the Bermondsey Lamppost School, because it changed my life, and I don't know what would have happened to me if I never found Lois and the Bermondsey Lamppost.
Christine Rowe.
ROWE?
Yeah.
How did you become involved with Lamppost?
Well, because Lois used to look after us kids from the estate. And she used to take us camping, and she'd do cookery with us in her house above the post office. And then she opened the school, and it was great. I loved it. But unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to stay there very long because my dad wouldn't let me.
Why was he against it?
Well, it was such a new thing, wasn't it? Yeah. So I
Was
went there for a
it
little
was
while.
like it was connected with, or it was part of your normal school, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you're doing that, and
Oh, it was much better though, because
yeah.
Lois let you do what you wanted really, and you could finish what you started. You know, it wasn't like normal school. Snowflakes was dreadful, really, back in the day. Lois learning me to read because I had a bit of problem reading. Yeah, and she helped me a lot. Yeah, thank you. No sugar, wasn't it? No sugar. Thanks, love.
And you kind of your reading improved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
What do you think? There should be more schools like that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Especially nowadays. Yeah. Always kept in touch with Lois. Yeah. Friends on Facebook with Ricky and Gary. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, anything you'd like to add?
I'm just grateful that I've had the opportunity to do that. You know, I don't know if is there any more free schools about now? There isn't, is there really?
I think Lois was saying they've all been incorporated into the school system. They don't like outside, don't like people doing things that might be doing it better.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
like Gary said, he learnt to read and write in the summer, where he'd been to school for X amount of years and couldn't read and write.
No.
So, that looks bad on the system, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Of course it does, yeah. Yeah, because I think I had a phobia of like actual government schools. I used to sit in the class and I thought I've got to get out of here. But if it had been secondary school with Lois, it would have been fine, you know.
Well, but you're all right now.
I'm all right now, yeah.
Yeah, good.
It
All
was
right.
50 years ago.